Barron Ridge Speakers Agency proudly presents Speaker Spotlight, highlighting one of our keynote speakers from across the nation. Now, here's your Spotlight host, Mindy East.
Hi, I'm Mindy East, and I'm joined today by Coach Mark Potter. Mark is a championship college coach and the president of D2 Up, which is dedicated to uncommon principles. And I'm so happy to have you on today. Mark has been with my agency for a couple of years, and I'm just grateful for his contributions and his input. He's got a very important message right now. So, Mark, how are you doing in this COVID-19 crisis?
You know, we're doing as well as to be expected. We have, we're staying busy with trying to exercise a little bit each and every day. You know, my wife walks about 50 minutes. I don't walk quite as much as that, but we're both staying active, and I do think that's an important thing for all of us to do during these times of high anxiety. A lot of unknowns. So we're having, we're trying to have a little bit of fun with it as well. We've done more yard work. We've gotten both garages cleaned out, all kinds of stuff around here that we hadn't done before.
Good, so. Very good. Well, it's very important to be healthy, productive, positive during this time. And I'd like for you to share a little bit about your background story. And it is such a timely message at this time. So I want to give you a lot of opportunity to talk about the depression and things that we might be feeling at this time.
Well, it's been 15 years ago now. And my background, for people to know about kind of what I've done and where I've been, is I was a head basketball coach for 30 years. And the last 19 of those were at the college level. So, I've been doing the full-time speaking now for 3 years. And the reason that I got out of coaching was to present this message, really, that most people are, the one message that people want me to give the most is what we call the silent epidemic, which is about my own personal journey with severe depression and anxiety. And that's been 15 years ago now. But, one of the things that, when we started this journey, and I say we, my wife and I don't know if you even knew this, Mindy, but my wife goes with me everywhere we go now. Mm-hmm. She speaks for about 10 minutes in our presentation on the caretaker side of that and kind of what that looked like as well. And we have found that's been a very important part of the presentation. We've had an opportunity to, in the fall, we were in 8 states and 8 different weeks, in 8 straight weeks, I should say. We've been literally from, on every coast speaking about mental health and my own personal journey. And what the message that I'm trying to give to each and every person that I speak to is that there is hope. And the one thing that we learned, there's a lot more than one thing, but the major thing that we've learned since we've been out there speaking on this particular topic is there are many, many more people that struggle from anxiety, depression, mental health issues than we ever imagined. And so, obviously we're in a time now where there are even more people that are struggling with especially anxiety and worries of things that, of the unknown. And so, my story is, I went through severe depression in the midst of a basketball season. And, I had to miss about 6 weeks in that particular season. And being a public figure as a head basketball coach, the media was hounding me to tell them as to, why I was not with my team. And, originally I wasn't going to tell anybody. I was going to put that in my rearview mirror and I was going to go forward. And, I was, after about 6 weeks at home and the doctors, basically they put me on medication, basically had to let that medication take effect. It takes approximately 4 to 6 weeks. And then once I got better and headed back to my team, they released me to my team. I did talk to my team about why I had been gone, and that's where we were going to leave it. My own personal family, my athletic director, my 2 assistant coaches of my team, and I was going to move forward. And we were on a trip to Washburn University. It was a 2-hour drive up the turnpike, and I had a freshman sitting in my front seat, and we were just having a conversation about whatever, really. And it was my first game back, after being gone for missing 8 games and 28 practices. And that freshman, in the midst of a conversation, interrupted me and he said, "Hey, coach," he said, "that reporter that contacted you about why you hadn't been with our team and that he wanted to talk to you about that?" I said, "Yeah, I remember. I remember when he contacted me." And I said, "That's kind of where I wanted to leave it." He said, And he hesitated for just a small moment. And he said, "Coach, I think it'd be pretty cool if you'd talk to him." And I always tell people when I share that story, because, and I get a little emotional almost, because, I often wonder, I hope that at some point I would have talked openly and honestly about my own personal journey, because I had no idea how many people it was going to impact. But that young man sitting up there in that front seat, that freshman that played for me, he was much more wise than I was at that point in time. And the question is why? And why is because that young man had already been to severe depression. He understood what it looked like. He understood what it was. And he also understood the impact that me talking about it openly and honestly with other people, the impact that could have on many people. So, we're blessed to have had such a negative maybe, that went on in our life that we can use to impact other people in a real positive way. So that's a little bit about my background and my journey. And really for 3 years now, we've been hard at it. We've been getting after it and traveling the nation and having a good time doing it.
Well, you're very busy, and not only are you impacting people, but you're also influencing lives. So, we've heard so much about COVID-19 and the wide range of symptoms. What are some things, what are some little red flags about depression or sadness that people should be aware of during this time, either in themselves or a family member?
Yeah, it's a great question. I put out a video about a week and a half ago, and I talked a little bit about just being aware of our family members and being aware of ourselves personally, because we are all at risk to struggle with anxiety throughout the course of this COVID-19. And, we have no idea how long this is going to last. So just paying attention to things that maybe about our own selves personally, if we find ourselves isolating a little bit more, if we're either losing weight or gaining weight, sleeping too much, or feeling like we can't get enough rest, whatever the case may be, if there's something that has changed over the course of a period of time where you've been home that is just not normal, then let's be aware of that. And then the other side of that, and there are many other things that we can look for, obviously, another statistic that I saw yesterday is that 55% of our nation, well, let's put it this way, the percentage of people that are now drinking is up 55% more. So instead of, let's say a person's a social drinker now, unfortunately, some of those same people are drinking a lot more because they're home, they have more time. It's also their way of kind of dealing with probably some of the stresses that, we're going through at the time. So just something to really be aware about, aware of, as a society in terms of, the, drugs and alcohol. And, those are some things I worry about as far as our young people are concerned as well, not being in school. And they obviously have some time that they have to spend on the computer now, but just a lot more time's on our hand. And we have a choice to make. And that choice is, how are we going to use that time and what are we going to do? And so I'm hoping and praying that, it'll bring us closer together rather than, further apart.
Well, I love the fact that you're a head coach, and I love the sports guys that are in my agency, because you all have such a positive message about personal development, team building. You're all always talking about motivation and, in your case, inspiration. What would you tell people today as they look forward to keep motivated and plan on returning back to the workplace or school in the fall? Or let's maybe take it from a sports angle. Right. Sports has been taken off the table, so people are not able to have that as a creative outlet, and gyms are closed. So how would you address that? What are your thoughts on that today?
For 30 years of being a head coach, one of the things that I always did with my players was really on a daily basis. And sometimes you don't even know you're doing it, but you're trying to get them to understand the significance of handling the stresses that they're going through, whether that's on a basketball court or whether that's in life. And obviously now with the heightened level of stress that we're all going through, one of the greatest things that I could probably suggest would be, and again, I put this on a video the other day, and I talk about one of your other speakers on your speaking bureau, that's Dr. Spencer Hood. And one of the greatest strategies he gave me that I shared with my team for many, many years, and I did it in different ways, but the greatest thing that we can all do is to think about what are the things that are truly bothering us, and then actually pinpoint those things, and we can check them off of a list. And checking them off meaning we write the things that are bothering us down. I did this with my team in basketball, and basketball is not obviously half as important as what we're going through today, but it was amazing what it would do for players in regards to things that they can't control. They can't control officials. They can't control, if coach gets after them a little bit, and they can't control a lot of the fans and all the things that go with that. So what can we control is the major question, and what can we control today? So that's why a simple assignment such as writing down the things that we are worried about and really are anxious about, and then checking off the list things that we simply can't control, can truly help us as we go. We actually, what we do there is I always call it, it's a shift in the brain. And that shift is, once I realize I can't do something about it, then I can let that go mentally. And sometimes that's easier said than done, and we all know that. I'm not trying to downplay, obviously, the stresses that we're feeling right now, because they are major. And that being said, if we know that we can't control something, giving ourselves permission to only worry about, really concentrate on the things that we can control is, I think, a huge part of our mindset and our mentality. And it will help us, believe in ourselves a heck of a lot more as we go forward throughout this difficult time.
Oh, that's excellent advice. I so appreciate that. And I want to thank you and let you know how important your presence of that video in my life has been. This whole project stemmed out of me watching your video. And as you mentioned, Dr. Spencer Wood is also in our agency, and I've reached out to him, and hopefully he'll be able to come and do an interview as well. And I just appreciate having you in Barron Ridge Speakers Agency. And if anyone is interested in booking you, they can find you through me, and I'll be happy to set that up, either a conference when things resume to normal limits, or possibly a Zoom conference call, or just, excuse me, if someone wants to have you in as a speaker for a webinar. So anyone can find you through me. And once again, I just thank you for your time today, Mark. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. And it's always great seeing you, Mindy. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Give my best to your beautiful bride.
Thanks for watching. Please join us next time. For more information on booking a keynote speaker or event MC, contact Mindy East at Barron Ridge Speakers Agency.